Are we back? Hmm. Man, that's annoying. I'm super annoyed by that. Can hear my mouse clicks. Okay. Well, I guess I'm live again, but new chat window. Sad. That is so frustrating. I thought you could quit and resume. I didn't want to end the stream. I wanted to restart OBS. Yeah, I lost all the other questions. I forgot what I was talking about. I loaded a project that was at 44.1 and yeah, killed the stream. Okay, so whoever asked the question, I think it was Philip, when he gets back. Philip, if you're there, leave a comment and I'll try to continue with this. Podcast template. Yes. I guess I'll just edit this into one video after. I don't know. It's going to be a mess. Okay, track spacer I'm pretty sure was a different question. I don't see Philip in the chat yet. All right, so this is what my podcast edit looks like. I'm not on this episode, but this is for the mastering show. The template is basically one folder, 2 dialogue tracks, and the theme. I've got some preset automation on the theme. The tracks have effects chains like this. Pretty standard stuff. I drop the files in anywhere past this hello marker, and I just sync them up. So Ian says hello to our guest or to me, and I find the response and I line them up, and I check later on in the project to see if they're still in sync, and that's it. And I'm always going to be adjusting for timing and things like that. What was that? Huh, I had some weird edit in here that got missed. Oh well. But for a podcast, that's essentially the template. Like, figure out your dialogue effects chain, save that on the track. There's processing on the dialogue track, which is some de-essing with Nova, some multiband compression, Brickwall limiter. The master track just has metering plugins for the loudness graph. I don't think very many people have come over from the other stream, but that's fine. Oh, and I forgot to reset the latency on this. So it's like a 3 or 4 seconds before you get to... No, at least. It's like 20 seconds before I can see your response when I say something. Frustrating. Okay. Any other questions? There was a question, what do you think of the remixed competition? I liked it. It's... I don't think I did an amazing mix. I think there were 3 or 4, maybe 5 mixes that were very good, but nothing perfect, including my own. There's some that were close to very good, and then after that, there were some that were very far off of the solid mix, and some others that just had kind of major problems De-esser seems to only pick up high gains anyway for low gains. A de-esser is essentially a compressor that only responds to high bands. It depends on if it's a split split de-esser or not. I can show you. Let's see. So the Tone Boosters de-esser is a split de-esser where it only listens to the high frequencies by setting the filter high pass frequency, and then it compresses just the high frequencies. So kind of like a multiband compressor if you had recomp in here, and you make this respond to high frequencies by setting the threshold appropriately. That's essentially a de-esser. If you just set bands 1 and 2 off and set band 3 to only respond to the high frequencies, then it's essentially a de-esser. A dedicated de-esser just gives you a better layout of controls. Does Ozone? I think. I've got one here. The RX-DS. Yeah, this one again is just like a high frequency only one. There are some other ones that are not split. So if you set up a recomp as a de-esser, you can make it detect only the high frequencies, but it will compress the entire signal. Okay. I'd be tempted to process my voice so I sound like Mr. Laserbeam voiceover man instead of a Brummy. Well, I just like to keep it natural. If you check a recent video on like a dialogue effects chain with Reaper plugins, then you'll see kind of my approach. It's still, I'll process it and it still sounds like the person, but we're removing things like sibilance and clicks and kind of evening out the presence of the voice. Yeah. I don't know. People tend to go too far with compression and processing, but it's usually just they're either using the wrong mic for their voice. They haven't found a good mic for themselves. Or they're just not comfortable with their voice. So, recomp can act as a de-esser. Yes, I mentioned that a couple minutes ago. Recomp can act as a de-esser, but it's going to compress the entire signal. So from lows to highs, it's all being turned down equally. Okay. Question, if time allows for it, what are your practices on decreasing the electrical sounds and buzzes coming through recording mics or guitars? That's a tricky one. Like, there's a lot of possibilities for that stuff. If there's an issue with the guitar, it's going to pick up more noise. If I record anything with my overhead lights or like the garage lights are on in my house, I'll get more buzz. What else? There's being too close to the computer, the angle that you're facing can all make a difference. I'm using power conditioners and what else? My pedal board is like a high-end power conditioned power supply thing, and I still get noise. Most of my mics don't get noise, but guitars definitely, because my main guitar is a Telecaster, and it has a single coil. Yeah, just try your best to get rid of it. And then after recording, there's gating. There's I'll run Isotope RX on it. You pretty much only need to run it on the areas where you need it. You know what I mean? Like, while there's distortion happening in the recording, you don't, like, if it's going through an amp, you probably don't need to run a noise suppressor on it. But if it's a long fade out, then you might need to. And you can kind of I had a video where I used a automated low pass filter to remove noise, and that seemed to work pretty well. Okay, someone asked what happened. I loaded a project that was at 48 or 44.1, and my stream and Reaper was set at 48, and so it just knocked out the audio, and then I couldn't get it back, so I had to restart the stream. But I couldn't restart the stream. I had to start a new stream. So probably, yeah, not the best idea or possibility. I agree with VJ, but I didn't see VJ. Oh, there you are. Put a video of how film post and game sound designer people suffer without a proper surround panner. I have a strong feeling the developers will listen to you. Yeah. It seems like we were making progress on that for a while, but now it's been like another year and a half. I don't know. I can't relate to it really because I don't even have a surround setup, and I have no interest in working in surround. But I know, yeah, you guys suffer with it. But you have those plugins that work, so it's not really that urgent. Info about Reaper updates and new Mac processors. I've heard that it will probably work okay. There is an ARM version of Reaper already. Like, you can run Reaper on a Raspberry Pi and on Linux and stuff. So, and it seems like Apple's tools for with Rosetta 2 and everything, it seems like it's probably going to work pretty well. Are you aware of a way to copy all effects parameters in a plugin from one place to another in the session in a quick way? Suppose you mean automated? Okay, let me show you this. So if I had ReQ automated, I would right click, copy selected effects including automation, and then I could go to another effects chain and paste it in here. And that would bring over all the automation lanes. If I had a section where it was automated, so like if I had some automation in this section that I wanted to bring over to here, for static points, I could do that. So if it was a flat automation lane or like a single point, I could do it pretty easily with multiple parameters. But otherwise, you probably have to put an automation item on each lane. I don't know. There's some changes coming to automation and selections and stuff, but it's not out yet. And I'm so out of it after having to deal with that technical difficulties. I almost didn't want to come back. It's so frustrating. I can't get over it. Is there a way to freeze an item just with the same length of the original one? Shouldn't it by default? If there's anything else on the track, it will go for longer. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. Do you know of a way to trigger different MIDI notes depending on the velocity a note is being pressed? Trigger different notes. If there is something, that would be in the effects browser under JS. No, I don't think there is. I think it's possible to do that, to convert velocity into pitch, but I don't know how. Someone asked how my PC is doing. I've had a couple days of issues, but overall it's pretty good. Like last week, I couldn't get it to boot. Or I could get it into Windows and would just restart. And then I just unplugged everything and plugged it back in and it worked. And that was the second time something like that happened. So I'm almost afraid to turn it off at night now. But I mean, other than that, it's been running really well. I just added a second NVMe drive to it through an adapter thing. Music Lover says Reaper is awesome, but one big drawback: no sampler like Ableton. Just lots of third-party and inexpensive and free samplers. I mean, choose your favorite. Ask Ableton to make a VST version of it. That seems like a fair demand rather than Reaper trying to replace all the software of every other DAW with 2 developers. Kind of ask the bigger companies to be more free with their software. Okay, VJ says, feels like developers don't take the surround workflow seriously. I think it's hard for them to relate because they're developers, not like film mixers, right? They're both musicians and coders primarily, and demanding that they have all this experience with every field of audio. It's like they can only focus on one thing, really. I don't know. Can it change sample's position like Contact? So I wanted to trigger notes depending on the velocity. Okay. Yeah, I could set that up pretty easily in Contact, I think, if you have like all of your samples. I mean, even in Resamplematic. All right, I'm going to try closing this project. Hopefully it won't crash here. With Resamplematic, you can play different samples based on velocity by adding them to the list. Or you could play different pitches depending on let's see. Yeah, if you want a different bank of samples per pitch, then you'd use multiple instances of this, and you use I can't remember which one it is. Oh, you set it to a specific note. And you set it to note semitone shifted. But if you do one of these, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure you can set up like that, but it's not going to be as easy as contact, I think. I think maybe you're thinking of like how Junkie XL does his toms, where he's got different velocities on different keys. But it's really just, I think it's just a matter of mapping them the way you want, because he's not using a traditional sampler like with different velocity layers and then he plays different pitches. I don't know. Maybe I'm just confused about this. I might have it backwards. Not an expert on that stuff. Okay, Matt Rosen. I can't remember if you asked the first question. Okay, you did. All right, so when you freeze a channel in Reaper, the length of the item inside the channel is based on the largest item inside the project, not the length of the actual item inside the freezed channel. Okay. Maybe? I don't know. Let's take this. I'll make it this big. And I'll freeze this track. Freeze it to mono. I don't know. Like, what you see here is this item is only as long as it was. Are you using like a sub project or something? Because for me, freezing just does the length of the item. Maybe if there's like, I think even with effects and things like that. So I put in a reverb. I'll put in shimmer. Lots of feedback, lots of size. And I'll render that to stereo. It's still the same length as it was before. So if you mean sub-project, which is rendered, move new tracks to sub-project. Hopefully this doesn't kill the stream. Okay, so there it's added in a gap at the beginning, but the length is automatically going to be you know, the length of the project. You've got the end marker here in the sub-project. So I don't know what freeze function you're using, if it's not those two. Fastest way to toggle VSTs online, offline. You could use a toolbar button. So I've got this docked toolbar on the side. I've got things like copy and paste effects chains. You could probably put in the online, offline thing, but the shortcut is, nope, that deleted it. So Shift bypasses, Alt removes, Control click doesn't do anything. It's Shift Control on Windows to bypass or to set offline. There might be a function in here to set offline with a shortcut. Probably have to watch my video on that because I don't remember it. Toggle offline, Control Alt B. Yeah. Okay. In MIDI view, if I drag a MIDI note, it makes the item bigger. I want the item length locked in the MIDI view. Can't find an answer. Want the length locked. Yeah, there's so many options for the MIDI editor. It's kind of hard to say what the best options for each person is. So if I put in a MIDI item like that, I like the ability to resize it. Like, I need that. But that's not the default. And because there's so many options with this, I don't even know what it is that makes that. Makes it work like that. Where is it? Media item. I think it's this one. If you have loop source for new MIDI items enabled, yeah, so it's put in a loop point where I first stopped it. So it would start looping from there. And that's the only way that I know that you can kind of prevent the resizing. I don't like that. I hate it. Yeah. Inside the editor, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. So if you drag it from here, it's the same as dragging the outside. So I guess I don't really know what you're asking. What do you expect? What do you expect to happen instead? Do you have this turned off? Allow MIDI note to extend. Allow MIDI note edit to extend the media item. I have that turned off. So if I turn that on and I put in a, let's say, put in a whole note here, that extends the item. Maybe you want that off. Is it like that? Because, yeah, I could see that being bad. Options, turn off allow MIDI note edit to extend the media item. So bring this back to here. I drag in a note and it stops it there. Maybe that's what it was. Did I find it? Who asked the question originally? I've already lost it. Okay, it was Colonel Porridge. And you got it? Is that it? I don't know. Did I miss any questions? I need to actually schedule a call. I'll do that on my other screen. Not seeing any other questions in the chat, so I'm just going to do some something on my other screen for a moment. Okay. So a question about normalize. So what's the best way to normalize to a specific dB, such as -3 dB? So there is this one, normalize selected takes to dB value. So I'll get an, oops. Still not used to this keyboard after all this time. So I've got this one, normalize to a specific value, so -3, and that only raised it by 0.28. Do it at -6, does that. The other way is to just do the normalize. So double click that. All right, so it's back to normal. If I hit normalize on this in media item properties, it's at +3.8. And then if I want to bring it down, I know that, sorry, to say that again, if I want it to normalize, it's going to be at 0 now. And if I want it at exactly 3, I just need to apply exactly -3 gain on the media item, which is right there. So 2 ways to do it. How do you recommend repeated hearing or mixing with intuition? I find myself micromanaging, which finally leads to fatigue. Yeah, mixing fast and yeah, mixing fast makes a big difference. You don't get the chance to like second guess yourself, kind of. You can always kind of follow your intuition with that. Sorry for bumping the mic. Working fast, not listening too loud, working at a consistent level, checking references, taking breaks every hour, things like that, power naps, all those things. Oh, here's a good question. Is there a way to remove duplicate VST2 plugins from the plugin list if you only want to see the VST3 versions only? Yes, this is a new function. I'm going to get my effects window. Hopefully you can see this clearly, but probably not because I'm streaming at the wrong resolution. Options. Let's see, where is it? Okay, show an effects list. And duplicate plugins of different types, show only VST3 if present. So leave that up on the screen for a sec. Should we be limiting to -1 dB true peak? TDR limited comes up at 0.1, so I've been using that. Yeah, I do -1. I don't really care if it's true peak or not, but I give myself 1 dB because almost everywhere it's going to be played back in a streaming, like a compressed format. So, but even with CD, it's like it's 1 dB. And you should, that, you know, the last 0.9 dB isn't going to make or break anything. How to play Launchpad for beginners. I don't have a Launchpad. No intention of buying a Launchpad. There's a million videos about Launchpad. All right. Any more questions? Reaper Launchpad for beginners. Yeah, well, I'm sure that's been done too. Quick sponsor post. This video is sponsored by the Reaper blog. Use the code STAYHOME. You'll get any of these courses for $15. So this is the best way to support the Reaper blog. Get yourself a nice, juicy hour to 5 hour long course on mixing or on video production in Reaper. Really helps out the channel. And yeah, it's a great time to get back into learning as school begins again. That's code STAYHOME. Wondering if there's a way to get Retune to work live. Can only get it to work on pre-recorded vocal lines. It should work, but there's probably going to be a lot of latency on a live input. Let's see. Let's see what the latency is actually like on this. Yeah, there's 9,000 samples of latency, unfortunately. So it's not really gonna work that well. You could try changing the window size. No, that doesn't even make a difference. So unfortunately, you can't. How do I tell Reaper to start at the beginning, very beginning of a project every time I load a project? Every time you load the project. The cursor position is saved with the project. So if you want to go to the beginning, you could use the SWS startup action. So I feel like I just talked about this in a video. Oh, it was for the video tools course. Startup. So there are startup actions. Oh, and we're not even looking at that screen. SWS extension has startup actions, which you can set for every project load or for a specific project. So set global startup action. When you run this, it will replace the existing startup action if you have one already. And then it will ask you to paste in a command ID. So let's, what is it? Home, I think it is. There's scroll track view to home. I've got it on this. No. Come on. What was that action? Move edit cursor to 1. I think it's home. It's not. What is it? I can't use the find shortcut function because that just closes the window. I don't know. Is it start? There it is. Transport go to start of project. So copy that. Copy selected command ID. Then you go to startup in the filter. Set global startup action, and you paste that in. First, my startup action, I'm using loading screenset 1, which looks like this. I talked about screensets before, but yeah. So when I load a project, it always loads screenset 1, and that gets me ready to start. I think going back to the beginning is probably a good idea too. Let me just update that. So I'm gonna make a new custom action. Call this project startup. Load Windows set 1 to start. There we go. Thank you, whoever asked that. Pete, thanks for that idea. I think that's a pretty smart idea to do that. What's the way to get used to Reaper? Just continue making simple projects and read the manual when needed. Yeah, doing actual work, getting paid to do work, really speeds up the process. I also do one-on-one lessons if you want to kind of knock off a whole bunch of things on your to-do list in an hour. And yeah, for me, it was just using it for everything, whether it's like, podcast recording, vocal recording, like I've done voiceover, I've done video editing, just use it for everything. And if you get stuck on anything, either write it down or, I don't know. There's lots of little helper things inside of Reaper, like the action list, which is the question mark key on your keyboard. Inside here, there's basically every function in Reaper is listed in here, whether it's for the main or the MIDI editor. So anything that you want to do with the keyboard or the mouse wheel is in here. You can also attach any of these actions to a MIDI controller or toolbar button or remote control, so you can control it from your phone if you wanted. And then things with like mouse dragging and stuff like that, that's in mouse modifiers. So if there's anything that you're curious about changing to make it more suited to you, it's usually in these two windows. Is there a way to revert an item back to its original recording status before edits after doing many edits to the item? I think there is. I haven't done it in a while. SWS reset item length and media offset is one thing that sounds promising. Oh, I keep doing that. This button. Let's take this. So if I trim that and run this, that puts it back. And then if it's something that you recorded within this project, you can use, where is it? I thought it was in this menu. Okay, so if it's something that you recorded in the project, there's preferred source position. Move item to source position. It only works with BWF files though, so that's not going to work. All right. So let's see if these are BWF files. Put that in there, and then move to source position, and then put that at the start. So you can combine those two actions. That puts it there, and then the other one, which was reset item length and media offset, puts it there. But I think probably, yeah, reset the length first and then move to source position. Yeah, Pete, if you want to go to my channel page here, or actually, go to this page, reaperblog.net/contact-form, just the contact button at the top of the page. You can email me here. That's the easiest way to contact me. What CMS am I using for my website? It's WordPress based. James Riley, you said also project settings, but I don't know what that is related to. Does anyone have a problem with switching from a docked MIDI editor window to the transport taking up the same size of the screen as the MIDI window to manually resize it? No, I can't say that I have. You might want to try moving the transport up to the top of the window. So it's further away, it's not attached to the dock anymore. That's the only way I can think of to manage that, unless you're using a screen set to just reset all your windows. So if you see this now, if I've got a bunch of windows open, let's put up the grouping matrix and I don't know, the big clock. If I got all these, I'm just going to press 1 on my keyboard and it resets my view to how I like it. Just closes all those windows for me. Chris Norris says, I think I just delete it and re-import it from the saved location. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to do it as well. Go to the project folder and import it again. But the options are there in Reaper. That reminds me, you could probably do it from the Project Media Effects Bay. So if it's like this and it's over here, could probably go to the source page, grab this, and then drop that in. Yeah, that would work. How do you stop the crackling and popping noises on playback? Having a good computer, having a good audio interface, that's going to take care of most of the issues. Other than that, it's the media buffer size, or not media buffer size, audio device buffer size, making sure that this isn't too low for your computer to handle, and making sure that there aren't plugins on the master track that would take a lot, that would delay everything and take up a lot of CPU unnecessarily. But that's basically all there is to it. Just make sure your computer's able to handle the projects you need to run. Okay. When scrolling up and down on mixer faders, is there a way to make them move in specific increments? There is not. I actually have mine turned off. You can turn that off. What screen set are we on? Yeah, so I have ignore mouse wheel on all faders turned on. But if I apply that, yeah, it kind of moves in a weird 3/4 dB increments. I don't really like that. I have a control surface, so I don't want mouse wheel to ever do that. MIDI Man, I don't know if you're asking me, but I do have a USB audio interface. Who knows more about me, or who knows more about Reaper, you or Adam Steele? I think I know a lot more. But he has a different set of experience. He uses it for different things than I do. But I think I've talked to more users and been doing this for longer. But he knows a lot of stuff too. Nice try to start a feud, though. I've been using the Arturia Audio Fuse audio interface, and it's been great on Mac and PC. Gets a little hot in the summer, but it's pretty good. Lots of gain on the mic, and I love that. That was one of the main factors with it. All right, I don't really want to answer like computer trouble questions too much in this this video. But I will address one thing. So if your issues are mostly with low latency, you might want to go to the buffering page, and you can turn off allow live effects multiprocessing. You can try that, which would, yeah, It might be better at low latencies. I have mine set like this. Cairo or Kiro, you just got to get over it. You can't have even numbers. You can't mix a song with only even numbers in your volumes. It's you just have to not think about those things. Don't think about the numbers at all. Just move it until it sounds good. Jack Wise, how many years until people realize Reaper's superiority and it becomes the industry standard over Pro Tools? I mean, personally, I don't even care what DAW someone uses. I just want them to be happy. And if they're using Reaper and are stuck, then I try to help them. I was miserable using Pro Tools after like 6 years or something like that, maybe 5 years. I felt like I was forced into it and there's no other options. My phone's ringing. Robo-dialers. I haven't actually answered my phone for a real call in like 10 months. It's always a robo-dialer. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't care what DAW you use. Reaper's best for me and a lot of other people. But obviously it's not the only option. Everything is good, but you know, it's an option. Rothammer, have you ever been able to connect X32 or minus 32? I think there's a lot of people using X32s with Reaper. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're using it for a control surface or an interface or both. I think a lot of people are just mainly using the X32 as a as like a live console, and then they're just using Reaper as a tape recorder, as far as I know. But I've definitely seen Reaper users using those. I haven't used them myself. If it's as a control surface, I'm pretty sure you can. I guess you would put it in Mackie mode. I was helping someone this week with the Allen and Heath QU16, and that was a pretty simple setup to use. So that works as an interface and a control surface. Chris Norris says, I don't want Reaper or any DAW becoming an industry standard. I want the idea of industry standard to die. That's a good point. Well, on the topic of the fader decibel levels, maybe you want to actually, what is that? Turn off tooltips, and then you won't see the decibel levels. Where is that? That's tooltip. So just turn off envelope. No, what is it? Tooltips for UI elements. And yeah, that might help. I don't know. Adam Steele, he's pissed. What does that mean? Pissed about what? Is he live right now? James, I think you're just trying to start up some YouTube drama. I don't do that here. Yeah, control surface really helps with mixing. All right, I think that is good for today. So gonna end this stream here. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a lot of fun, a bit stressful, but I think I've answered a few good questions in here. Let's see. So we've got a sale on for the Reaper courses, the video tools course, the Mixing and Reaper series. Use the code STAYHOME to get 50% off. And what else? The bundle of all three is already discounted to that same price. What else? We've got channel memberships on YouTube here. And so if you like the streams and you want like emojis and stuff, we can have special emojis for you. For now, I think that's the only kind of benefit I can offer. I don't know. The emojis don't even work. They're animated, but they don't animate, at least on desktop. Maybe they do on the other ones. There's the emojis in the chat. What else was I going to say? What else is going on? We've got a Patreon, and I don't know. That's it. I'm getting tired, and I've got a call to do in a little bit. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, probably Monday. All right. See you guys.